Hello family, welcome to Stories with Storytime. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you, as you do.
Melissa became obsessed with the idea of gaining weight, believing it was the only way she would ever be accepted. She began to eat far more than her body needed, forcing herself to consume large portions of cornmeal and groundnut stew at every meal. She would sit in front of a mountain of food, sweating as she shoved spoonful after spoonful into her mouth, determined to transform her body into something that would please the village's eyes. Yet, no matter how much she ate, the weight never seemed to come. Bimbira was a place like no other, a village where all the women were fat and robust, except one maiden. In this peaceful paradise, every woman carried her weight with pride, moving through life with the assurance that her appearance pleased both her ancestors and her future in-laws. This belief had been passed down for generations, unchallenged, until the day a peculiar child was born to Lena and Dabo. Lina and Dabo were well respected in the village, known for their kindness and generosity. When Lina became pregnant, the entire village was excited. Her pregnancy was smooth, and when the time came, Lina gave birth to a baby girl that they named Melissa. But as the midwife held up the baby for all to see, a hush fell over the room. Melissa was not like the other babies. She was small, her limbs delicate, and her cheeks lacking the usual chubbiness that the village midwives loved to see. A murmur spread through the room, and some of the older women exchanged concerned glances. "Is she ill?" someone whispered, but the midwife quickly reassured them, saying, "She is healthy, just different. The gods have their plans." Lena and Dabo loved their daughter dearly and raised her with all the care in the world. But as Melissa grew, it became evident that she was not like the other children. While the other girls began to develop rounded cheeks and fuller frames, Melissa remained slender, her figure almost ethereal. She had an inner light that shone through her eyes, a light that made her seem like she belonged to another world. She also had a slight limp from birth, one that made her walk just a little unevenly. It wasn't severe, but it was enough to draw whispers. From the moment Melissa could walk, she became the subject of whispers and gossip. The other children would point at her, giggling and calling her a stick or the slim one. Some even mimicked her walk. She tried to join their games, but they often excluded her. Whenever she tried to dance during their harvest ceremonies, the other girls would laugh and say, "Your legs are too thin for the dance. Go and play with the boys." Melissa's heart was heavy with loneliness. She would often retreat to the quiet fields at the edge of the village, where she could cry in peace. Her parents noticed her sadness and tried to comfort her. "You are special, Melissa," her mother would say. "The gods have given you a beauty that is all your own. One day, you will understand why you are the way you are. There will always come a time for you." But these few words did little to ease Melissa's pain. She felt like an outcast in her own village. One day, after another round of teasing from the other girls, she ran to the riverbank and cried until her eyes were sore. As she sat there, an old woman approached her. It was Mama Yara, the village healer known for her wisdom and mysterious ways. "Why do you cry, little one?" Mama Yara asked gently. "I am not like the others. I am not beautiful like them. I am too thin, too different," Melissa replied, her voice breaking. Mama Yara smiled and sat beside her. "Listen, child," she began. "The gods do not make mistakes. Every leaf, every tree, and every person has a purpose. Your difference is your strength. One day the world will see what makes you special." Melissa listened, comforted by the old woman's words, but doubt still clouded her heart. The constant mockery ate away at her confidence. Even at home, Melissa would sometimes overhear her parents whisper at night, wondering if she would ever grow into herself, or if she'd always be different. She never mentioned it, but their quiet doubts cut just as deeply as the laughter of the other girls. Melissa became obsessed with the idea of gaining weight, believing it was the only way she would ever be accepted. She began to eat far more than her body needed, forcing herself to consume large portions of cornmeal and groundnut stew at every meal. She would sit in front of a mountain of food, sweating as she shoved spoonful after spoonful into her mouth, determined to transform her body into something that would please the village's eyes. Yet, no matter how much she ate, the weight never seemed to come. Her body remained lean, refusing to conform to the ideal shape everyone expected. In her desperation, she turned to the other maidens who, despite their taunts, took pity on her. They whispered to her of herbal concoctions passed down by their mothers, secret potions that could supposedly help a maiden gain weight quickly. Desperate and naive, Melissa agreed to try these concoctions. Each day she would drink a new mixture, choking down the bitter taste, clinging to the hope that this one would finally work. One of the girls, Rena, gave her a particularly potent mixture, swearing it had helped her cousin gain weight in just a month. "Drink it 3 times a day," she advised. "You'll see a difference soon. Just keep at it," she added. Melissa did as she was told. She drank the concoction religiously, ignoring the nausea that often followed. Her digestive system had always been sensitive, and the strange bruise made her stomach churn and her limbs shake. She felt her stomach twist and cramp painfully, but she convinced herself that this was just a side effect, a proof that the potion was working. She became weaker with each passing day, her skin growing pale, but she persisted. The desire to be accepted, to be seen as beautiful, pushed her to endure the discomfort. One morning, Melissa woke up feeling faint. Her head was spinning, her body was drenched in sweat, and she could barely stand, determined to keep going. She forced herself to drink another dose of the concoction, but as soon as it touched her lips, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. She collapsed to the ground, clutching her stomach, her breath coming in heavy gasps. Her parents, Dabo and Lena, heard her cries and rushed into her room. They found her writhing in pain, her face pale and her lips blue. Lena screamed for help, and within minutes the neighbors had gathered outside their small hut. Mama Yara, the village healer, pushed her way through the crowd and knelt beside Melissa. "What has she taken?" Mama Yara asked urgently. Rena, who had come to see if Melissa had gained any weight yet, stepped forward. Hesitantly, "She's been drinking a mixture to help her gain weight," she mumbled, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Mama Yara's face darkened. "Foolish girl," she snapped. "Do you not know that these concoctions are dangerous? Everybody is different. What worked for another may kill someone else," she said. With swift hands, Mama Yara began to administer a remedy to counter the effects of the toxic mixture. Melissa lay there barely conscious, her mind drifting in and out of darkness. She heard the murmurs around her, the whispers of pity and judgment. Some neighbors muttered cruel things, saying Melissa brought it on herself, or that she had offended the gods by trying to change what was meant to be. For 3 days, Melissa lay in bed, weak and feverish. Her parents stayed by her side, worried she might not survive. On the 4th day, she finally opened her eyes, her body aching but alive. She looked up at Mama Yara, who had stayed to monitor her recovery. "You are lucky, child," the old woman said sternly. "The gods have spared you, but only just once. You must never seek to change what the gods have given you. Your body is a gift, whether you see it that way or not," she added. As Melissa grew into her teenage years, the village began preparing for its grandest event, the annual Harvest Festival. It was a time when young women would showcase their beauty, dance, and charm, hoping to catch the eye of a suitor or, at the very least, earn the admiration of the village. The festival was also a chance to honor the ancestors and celebrate the village's culture. Every girl looked forward to the festival, and Melissa, despite her past rejections, hoped that this year would be different. Her body still hadn't fully regained strength after the sickness. She tired quickly and her movements were slower than before, but she worked patiently. She spent days weaving a beautiful dress from the finest fabric her parents could afford. The dress was simple yet elegant, highlighting her unique frame. When she put it on, even her mother gasped. "Melissa, you look like a goddess," Lena exclaimed. But when Melissa arrived at the festival, the mocking began immediately. "Look at her again," a guest sneered. "Who does she think she is with those tiny legs?" Melissa tried to smile, tried to enjoy the festival, but every laugh felt like a dagger to her heart. As the drumming began, Melissa stepped forward to join the dance, but the other girls blocked her path. "This is no place for you," said Tasha, the most popular girl in the village. "Go see to the elders. Maybe they will appreciate your bones." The crowd laughed, and Melissa, faced with embarrassment, turned and fled. She ran through the fields, tears streaming down her face, feeling more alone than ever. She ran until she reached the old abandoned shrine at the edge of the village, where she collapsed crying. It was there that she heard a voice. "Why do you weep, Melissa?" It was Mama Yara again, emerging from the shadows. "I'm tired, Mama," Melissa sobbed. "I'm tired of being different, tired of not belonging." Mama Yara nodded thoughtfully. "The world is full of surprises, my dear. Sometimes what seems like a curse is actually a blessing in disguise. Trust the gods and trust yourself. Your time will come." Just as Mama Yara had predicted, Melissa's life was about to change. A few weeks after the festival, a stranger arrived in Bambira. His name was Chasen, a tall, charming man from the city with a reputation as a talent scout for a renowned modeling agency. He had heard of Bambira's unique harvest festival and had come to see it for himself. Chasen was immediately struck by the unusual beauty of the village women, but something else caught his eye. Amid the robust, curvy figures, he saw a slim, graceful girl standing alone by the riverbank. She seemed like a flower among trees, delicate yet strong. He approached her cautiously. "Hello, my name is Chasen," he introduced himself with a friendly smile. "I couldn't help but notice you. You have a rare kind of beauty, something unique and different. Have you ever considered modeling?" Melissa blinked, not quite understanding. "Modeling? What is that?" Chasen laughed softly. "It's a career where people like you, with a special look, showcase clothes, jewelry, and products. I believe you could be very successful," Chasen added. Melissa hesitated. She had never heard of such a thing, and it sounded almost too good to be true. Her mind raced with doubts. Her skin had developed a patchy reaction from the concoctions she'd taken weeks earlier, something she was still treating quietly. The idea of showing herself in front of strangers felt like walking into another kind of ridicule. "But I'm not beautiful," she whispered, looking down. Chasen shook his head. "Who says so? The world is vast, and beauty is not just one thing. Trust me, Melissa, you have something special." After speaking with Chasen, Melissa went home, her mind filled with thoughts. She told her parents about the strange man and his proposal. At first, they were worried, not wanting their daughter to leave for the city, but they saw a spark of hope in her eyes, something they had never seen before. "We will support you, Melissa, if this is what you truly want," Dabo said. "But remember, the city is different from our village. It can be harsh and unforgiving," they advised. Melissa nodded, understanding the risk but feeling a burning desire to prove herself. Her heart still trembled at night with anxiety, especially at the thought of leaving the only place she had ever known. But she decided to take a chance and leave Bambira with Chasen. The villagers were shocked, and some seemed jarred. "She will come back with nothing," they scoffed. But Melissa's parents stood by her, and Mama Yara gave her a small charm for protection, whispering, "Remember, child, you are special." The city was overwhelming at first. It was loud, fast, and full of towering buildings, bustling markets, and people who seemed to move with a purpose. Melissa had never known anything like it. Everything was new, exciting, and terrifying. At the same time, she had never seen so many cars, so many people in such a hurry, or such a dazzling array of lights that made the night feel like day. The smell of exhaust and constant movement made her nauseous for the first few days, and her head throbbed from the noise. Chasen took her to his agency, where she was introduced to his business partner, Imani, a former model herself. Imani looked Melissa up and down, a skeptical look on her face. "Are you sure about this one, Chasen?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "She doesn't look like the usual girls we work with." Chasen smiled. "That's exactly why I'm sure. She has a different kind of beauty, a freshness the industry needs right now. Trust me, Imani, there's something special about her," Chasen insisted. Imani sighed but agreed to give Melissa a chance. They started with training, teaching her how to walk, pose, and present herself in front of a camera. The first few weeks were difficult. Melissa struggled with her confidence, often feeling like she didn't belong. Her limp, barely noticeable back in the village became more of a burden in high heels, and she fell more than once during training. The city girls, with their tall heels and perfect hair, would glance at her and whisper, mocking her awkwardness. But Chasen was patient, encouraging her every step of the way. "You're doing great, Melissa," he would say. "Just be yourself. Let your uniqueness shine." Gradually, she began to find her rhythm. Her work became more confident, her poses more natural, and soon she started catching the attention of photographers and designers. One day during a photo shoot, a well-known fashion designer, Mrs. Akinola, stopped by the agency. She was looking for fresh faces for her new collection. As she walked through the studio, her eyes fell on Melissa, who was shyly preparing for her turn in front of the camera. "Who is that?" Mrs. Akinola asked, pointing to Melissa. "Oh, that's our new girl from the village," Imani replied dismissively. "She's still learning the ropes." Mrs. Akinola seemed intrigued. "Let her step forward," she instructed. When Melissa came closer, Mrs. Akinola smiled. "There's something different about you, child," she said. "You have a raw, untamed quality. I want you to model my new collection." Melissa was stunned, hardly believing her ears. This was the chance she had been waiting for. She nervously accepted, and within days, she was thrust into the spotlight at one of the biggest fashion shows. As she walked down the runway wearing one of Mrs. Akinola's designs, the audience gaped. Her grace, her natural poise, her unique beauty captivated them. The next day, her face was all over the newspaper and social media. She was praised for her refreshing look and quickly became the talk of the town. Offers started pouring in, and Melissa was soon modeling for top designers and brands. The girl from Bambira was now a sensation in the city. Her fame grew, and with it came new challenges. She had to navigate the complexity of the modeling world, jealousy from other models, the pressure of maintaining her image, and the constant scrutiny of the public eye. Sometimes she caught herself trying to speak, but freezing mid-sentence during interviews, the stutter from her childhood creeping back under pressure. She found herself at glamorous parties, rubbing shoulders with celebrities and wealthy businessmen. Yet amidst all the glitz and glam, she felt a pang of loneliness. One night, after a particularly grueling day of back-to-back photo shoots, she sat alone in her luxurious apartment, staring out at the city lights. Despite all her success, she felt a void. She missed her village, her parents, the simplicity of life in Bambira, and even the laughter of the children who used to tease her. Her mind raced, sleep eluded her night after night. Even the hum of city traffic outside her window couldn't distract her from the ache inside. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Chasen, who had noticed her recent melancholia. "Melissa, are you okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. Melissa sighed. "I'm grateful for everything, Chasen, but sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. I miss my home," she said. Chasen nodded. "It's normal to feel this way, but remember, you have come so far, and you have inspired so many people already. You have a story to tell, and you are living it every day. Don't let the loneliness of a moment take away from your journey." His words struck a chord with her. Melissa realized that she had the power to bridge the gap between her two worlds. She decided to use her platform not just to model, but to advocate for young girls who felt different or out of place. She began sharing her story in interviews, talking about her upbringing, the beauty standards in her village, and how being different had become her greatest strength. Months later, Melissa decided to return to Bambira for a visit. She had been away for a long time, and though she was unsure how she would be received, she felt a pull to go back to her roots. She had sent word to her parents, but she didn't know what to expect from the rest of the village. As she approached the village square, she was surprised to see a large crowd gathered. The villagers who had once mocked her for being different were now cheering her name. Children ran up to her, laughing and waving. The women, even those who had once excluded her, came forward to embrace her. Dabo and Lina stood at the front, tears of pride in their eyes. Mama Yara was there too, smiling with satisfaction. "See, child," she whispered. "Didn't I tell you the gods have their plans?" she said. Melissa hugged her parents tightly, feeling a wave of love and acceptance wash over her. The village elders invited her to speak, and with a steady heart, she stood before them. "I left this village feeling like I didn't belong," she began, her voice carrying across the square. "But the truth is, every one of us is unique, and our differences are what make us beautiful. I have learned that beauty is not just about how we look, but about how we feel about ourselves. No one should ever be judged or made to feel less for being different." Her words struck a chord with the villagers, and many nodded in agreement. They saw her not just as Melissa, the slim girl who had left for the city, but as a symbol of courage, determination, and self-love. Melissa's return brought a new wave of change. In Bambira, her story had gone viral, and the village began attracting visitors from far and wide, eager to see the place that had nurtured a city model. More importantly, Melissa's journey inspired many in the village to rethink their standards of beauty and success. The village women began celebrating their own unique attributes, and the young girls who had once teased Melissa now looked up to her as a role model. Even the girl who had mocked her at the harvest festival approached her with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Melissa," she confessed. "I was wrong to judge you. You've shown us what true beauty is." Melissa smiled and embraced her. "We all learn in our own time," she replied warmly. Though the crowd welcomed her with cheers, Melissa noticed a few quiet stares and hushed voices from elders who still seemed skeptical. Acceptance, she realized, was not always universal, and perhaps never complete, but she had learned to accept herself. Before leaving Bambira, Melissa decided to give back to her community. She used her earnings to build a community art and learning center, where young girls and boys could learn skills like modeling, photography, and even public speaking. She wanted them to have opportunities she had never dreamed of. She named the center Mama Yara's Wisdom House, in honor of the old healer who had first helped her see her worth. She also created a small safe space within the center for teens struggling with body image or anxiety, something she wished she had growing up. The center quickly became a hub of activity, a place where young people found a sense of purpose and belonging. The girl who had once cried by the riverbank in Bambira was now a symbol of hope and strength for millions. Her journey had shown the world that true beauty lies not in conformity, but in the courage to be oneself. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and leave a comment, letting us know what you think about the story. Kindly subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, bye for now.